begin our study today by reading the passage that we've been studying the last few sessions. Revelation chapter 14 and verses 6 and 7. We've studied 10 great facts about the three angels' messages. We've studied about the everlasting gospel. We've studied what it means to fear God. And in our last session, we discussed what it means to give glory to God. Now, today, we're going to study about the hour of God's judgment. It says in Revelation 14, verse 6, "Then I saw another angel flying in the midst of heaven, having the everlasting gospel to preach to those who dwell on the earth, to every nation, tribe, tongue, and people, saying with a loud voice," and now you have two imperatives, "Fear God and give glory to Him." Now the question is, why should we fear God and give glory to Him? It continues saying, "Fear God and give glory to Him, for the hour of His judgment has come." Now that word "for" there is what is called in the Greek language a causal conjunction. And it should be translated "because." In other words, fear God and give glory to Him because the hour of His judgment has come. And then we're told, the third imperative, "and worship Him who made heaven and earth, the sea, and springs of water." So you see, the reason why we're supposed to fear God and give glory to God and worship Him is because the hour of His judgment has come. Now, when most people think about the judgment, they think of the judgment as an event. But really, in the Bible, the judgment is not an event. The judgment is a process, a rather extended process. In fact, the book of Revelation itself presents three different and distinct phases of the judgment. I'm not going to go into all of these phases. I'm just going to give you the references. The first phase of the judgment takes place before the second coming of Jesus, before the close of probation. We find that in Revelation 14 and verses 6 and 7. The second phase of the judgment takes place during the 1,000 years, during the millennium. And you can find that in Revelation chapter 20 and verses 4 through 6. The third phase of the judgment takes place after the millennium, after the 1,000 years. And you can find a reference to that in Revelation 20, verses 13 through 15. In other words, the judgment is a process. The judgment is not an event, a punctual event. Now, the stage that we especially want to take a look at today as we study this subject of the judgment is that first stage that I mentioned, the stage that occurs before the second coming of Jesus, before the close of probation. Now, in order to understand this particular phase of the judgment, the first one, which is mentioned in Revelation 14, verse 7, we need to go back to the story of creation. And you say, well, why do we need to go back to the story of creation? Very simply because the first angel's message calls us to go back and talk about the Creator.